Hello everyone, this is Anna from Savvy Couch Realty, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Troia, Comporta and Grândola regions that are just south of Lisbon and very popular. So for those of you who don't know, Savvy Couch Realty is a relocation and investment agency that helps expats move to Portugal in a sustainable way. We work in all of continental Portugal, and our goal is to help you find the ideal location according to your budgets and lifestyle needs, and also give you as much information and safety as possible so you can make an informed decision and a good purchase that is aligned with the local market. We work with both rentals and purchases, and you can see all of our services listed very transparently online in our website www.savvycouchrealty.com. So going into today's topic, which is the Troia, Comporta and Grândola regions. These regions are the south of the peninsula of Setúbal, and you can actually take a ferry to Troia. And especially Troia is very known to be kind of the jet set vacation house party region. And this region has a bit of a dynamic because it's technically already in Alentejo, but us Portuguese pretty much consider it Lisbon because it is just the vacation homes of most people in Lisbon, and that has influenced the direct regions such as Melides and Grândola. So if you look at it at glance, geographically it is the same region, but we have very different markets here, and I'm going to explain this further. So Troia is the peninsula. As I was saying, you can take a ferry from Setúbal to Troia, and it's very known for its summer parties, casino, and overall summer life. So it is extremely seasonal. It pretty much closes down in the winter, and it is mostly modern high-rise buildings, closed condominiums and hotels, and apartment buildings. So then you have Comporta, and Troia is at the end of the peninsula. It kind of closes down on the coast, and you have this large stretch of land to get there if you go by car. And what Comporta is basically where the land starts again after this stretch that takes you to Troia. And Comporta is a bit like a village, and it still has its own little hidden spots and really nice beaches, but it is a very, very different kind of market. It's actually the high-end privacy luxury market where you will find the football player villas and the celebrity and the really, really rich people villas. But they are hidden because this region is about privacy, and you generally don't find these properties just going around. You have to just take a drive inside the region, and they tend to be mostly walled properties. So once again, a very different kind of market. And then you have Grândola and Melides, which used to be very typical Alentejo residential villas, but because of the influence and demand that you have in Troia and Comporta, they pretty much became a high-end market themselves. So I'm going to explain a bit of this dynamic further, and I'm going to start by Troia. I already told you that Troia is very much apartment-led, and you have a lot of closed condominiums and hotels and high-rise apartment buildings. So the most common units you can find in Troia are 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and it's a seasonal flexible market. So basically, like I was saying, it pretty much dies down and becomes a desert in the winter. Almost everything is closed, and while in the summer it is buzzing. It's where all the parties are happening, and it has this beautiful beach that it's one of the best in the Lisbon region, although it's technically Alentejo, like I was saying. So it is a very seasonal vacation home and flexible kind of market that is very apartment-led. And this is, like I said, second home and short stays, high season living, and it clearly has been becoming more popular. So in 2018, the average asking price for apartments in Tróia was 3,500 per square meter, while in 2025, not even 10 years later, 7 years later, you have an average asking price of 5,100 euros per square meter. So this is a very significant growth, but not exactly a doubling. And this is because Troia was already a high market to start with. 3,400 euros per square meter was very high price for 2018. So this is, once again, a fairly scarce market, although there are actually new builds happening in some developments. There's also the golf course that I forgot to mention, but there's actually a big development happening right now in the golf course area. But because it's in the end of the peninsula, it's literally very space limited. So once these small spaces that are still available got built, that's it. It's an exclusive market. However, Comporta, as I said, it's almost the mirror opposite of Troia. So you have almost overwhelmingly villas, so standalone properties. And the most commons are 3 and 4 bedroom villas. So basically you are looking at spacious properties, most of them with big plots, and they are, however, not very available. There's not a lot of them. So Comporta is not about volume, it's about exclusivity, it's about scarcity. And this scarcity, it's what gives it value. And you can see that in the price, because if you look at 2018, the average asking price per square meter for villas in Comporta was 3,600 euros per square meter. By 2025, that is now 8,300 euros per square meter. So this is one of the most expensive and the most exclusive markets in all of Portugal, followed only by the Golden Triangle in the Algarve. These are probably two of the most expensive regions in all of Portugal. And once again, this is all due to this scarcity and high-end big properties availability versus demand, or in this case, scarcity versus demand. And then, like I was saying, we have these two very high-end markets that became very popular and considered luxury markets. And then you had the normal regions right next to it that were Grândola and Melides. Melides is actually just a really small village that, because it's so close, it's basically at the end of Comporta, it pretty much got taken over by the Comporta market's demand, and it became kind of an exclusive market in itself, but it's still a very different market because it's still very long-term living and residential oriented. So in Melides, you have a smaller and quieter and more constrained kind of dynamic, very much kind of like a village. It is a village. And you still have mostly villas, so you have 2, 3 and 4 bedroom townhouses. You don't have as much like big properties and plots like in Comporta. It's you still have really, really nice villas, but not as luxurious and as huge as the ones you can find in Comporta. In Melides, you can clearly see the influence of the Troia and Comporta markets because, for example, apartments, they went from 950 euros per square meter in 2018 to 2,800 euros per square meter in 2025. And like I was saying, this is a very, very insignificant part of the Melides market. It's still mostly houses. And when we're talking about houses, villas, they did absorb most of the value increase, reaching 6,800 euros per square meter in 2025. So you can see this market probably tripled or quadrupled since 2018. And this is very much due to the influence of the market on Troia and Comporta. And Melides also is very close to the coastline, although it is technically interior. You just drive 50 minutes to get to the coastline in Melides, where you have a really pretty picturesque little beach region, small villa region that has some apartment developments, but it's mostly small townhouses. And you also have some kind of recreational area with bars and restaurants and a very, very long stretch of beach with the lagoon access that makes it particularly pretty. So Melides had all of the factors to gain value in this way. And this more coastal region is also definitely very seasonal, but the village itself retained its village function, still being mostly for whole year-round living, still having its school. And another curious fact is that Christian Louboutin, the owner of the Louboutin shoes, opened a hotel called Vermelho, which means red, in Melides, that it's a small luxury, charm hotel that I also believe probably had a decent contribution to the increase of popularity and luxury demand in the Melides region. This hotel only opened about 3 years ago, so it's quite recent, but it's still an interesting curiosity to know. Then you have Grândola, which is very much the actual residential town. It's still not a big town, it's a small town, and it is culturally significant, as you probably heard from the 25 de Abril, the 25th of April, the freedom holiday in Portugal. One of the most relevant cities was Grândola, where the meeting took place, so it's also called the City of Liberty, and there's also a song that was used as kind of a code to start this revolution that is about Grândola. So that is all just curious facts. But Grândola was mostly and is still the most normal region, normal town in this region. And you have a much more diverse kind of property ecosystem. So you have both apartments and villa locations in Grândola, and you have much more small town all year round kind of life with schools and services and restaurants and parks. And at the time I filmed, they were still taking down the Christmas decorations, and you can see that the town took it very seriously. There was a lot of Christmas decorations. So you can see it's still quite an active town, a small, quiet, active town that it's only about 1.5 hours, 2 hours from Lisbon, depending on the traffic you get. And one of the things that is happening in this region is that because it became very popular due to all of these factors and the proximity to Lisbon, there is a lot more demand than supply, so prices went up. So what happened is that in 2018, the average asking price for villas in Grândola, and this is catching a bit of Melides too because of the way that I set up the region, was 3,100 euros per square meter, and by 2025 they reached 6,800 euros per square meter. So you have a very clear influence of the luxury markets here, but it still retains the town life. So it's a bit of an interesting value, an interesting dynamic where you still get the quiet life, but you also have a lot of the luxury market factors. So this is pretty much the summary that I have to give you about this region. As you can see, it's quite a diverse region with different markets in a very small stretch of land. Across this region, the price evolution and the stock composition tells you the same story. The prices have been going up. Demand has been going up. Supply is not enough to support that demand, so prices keep rising. And Comporta in particular is built on the created scarcity and privacy it generates. So Grândola and Melides are long-term living markets, practical, one more prime. Troia and Comporta are coastal luxury markets built by towards completely different lifestyles. So Troia is towards a high-paced party, summer vibe, young lifestyle, while Comporta is more towards the slow-paced, privacy, luxury-driven market. And it is, once again, a very close region to Lisbon. You can take the ferry to Tróia from Setúbal, or you can reach it by car by going around from the Alentejo. If you want to consider the region and if this region sounds interesting to you, you can of course work with us. You can also book a free advisory call with us on our website in www.savvycatrealty.com to know a bit more about our services and whether or not it would be a good fit to have Savvy Cat Realty helping you. And I hope that you enjoy to know about the region of Troia, Comporta, Grândola and Melides. We are here every week with new content about Portugal, Portugal living, Portugal politics, culture, and useful information for anyone looking to relocate to our beautiful country. So I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, do subscribe to our channel. Like I said, we are here every week, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.